Hey,
Hey,
hey guys.
howdy.
Hey,
Hi.
hey,
Hey, Sophie.
I just remembered we moved the agenda to the governance.
Yes.
I wanted to add something to it, but the links from the meeting are still outdated.
Yeah, I
I
saw
can't
that
remember
issue
where
you
we put
opened.
it. Yeah.
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
mean the link in the calendar.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, that is something only Linux Foundation can change.
Hmm.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, I'll ping Jessica about that. Yeah, I like it better here. It's a lot more organized, I think, and easier to edit.
Yeah, all in one place. How would you edit it anyway? You have to make a pull request or
No, you just go ahead and here, hit the edit button, and then do whatever you want. And then
oh,
it's,
okay.
yeah, I think that should be open to most people because I know I'm not like a maintainer or anything in this repo, so and I still have full edit access. So
yeah, I assume that is like if you are part of Hiero Ledger, like in the team in general, I think then you can edit.
mhm. Yeah, maybe so did you want to try real quick just going in and seeing if you can edit this? No, we're just
Yeah.
doing more B3 discussion today, so we could probably take your whatever your topics are first.
Okay. I'll just try and find it. There's a lot of repos in the Hiero. Do you have the link to it? Be
Yeah. Yeah, I'll put it in the chat.
I think I know where it is, but I can get mixed up for a couple minutes. Okay, going ahead and I don't see an edit button. That could be me. One sec. Let me share my screen.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you don't
Okay.
have an edit button. I have an edit button on the top right. That's okay. That is something we need to work on because having the things here in the governance in general as a wiki is great, but only if, every maintainer can edit it and can provide new minutes and agendas for meetings.
Yes.
Yeah. Um, I will directly forward that.
Yeah, we
They're
should
like
be able
a
to ask Jessica about it.
they're like a Discord where you can just say I want to talk about this and this.
Oh yeah, that was gonna kind of be the second option I was gonna say. Just put like a have like a community call Discord channel and can put a request for adding to the agenda in that or something like that. I don't know.
Okay.
But I'd rather try and figure out why every maintainer can't edit. I think that'd be easier. Um,
I made a presentation, but there's 12 slides and it's not that time important.
oh, I
So
think if it's only, well, do you think it'll be like, I don't know, like 10 minutes, 15 minutes? But yeah,
yeah,
we're just talking about V3, so
yeah, not very long.
yeah, you can go ahead and present.
Okay, great, nice. So, I wanted to present the good first issue topic because, um, we started doing good first issues in the Python SDK in June of this year, and we've learned a lot of good things since then. Um, we used some of the great templates in the governance repo. I can get confused. Um, we used that a long time. We learned lots and lots of lessons, and I think we've made some good progress recently. So I just wanted to share a little bit about that, how we're trying to make the good first issue process a little bit easier. Okay, so yeah, basically good first issues has been the way that we got lots of new contributors. So this Python SDK was new last year, and I think there were 4 contributors, and now there's 71. And yeah, so it's been really, really good. And even today, what happens if you search for good first issues and you filter by the language of Python? And I don't mean just Hiero, if you filter this for in GitHub, Explore in general, you will find Hiero SDK Python quite often ranks first for recently updated. We are a lot smaller than a couple of other repos. So maybe we'll rank like 3rd or 4th by number of stars. But I believe this is how we attract a lot of the new starters through the tags. So I call them tags, but I don't know what they're called. So if you look here, we have good first issue on here, and then that means that I think that's how we rank on there. So inside here, one of the important things has been, in my view, adding this and adding that, in addition to like a nice description that tells you what it does. That's how we attract a lot of the developers, and we rank highly. Some other repos in the Hiero SDK will probably rank maybe even better because they are bigger. So what I really wanted to say is that recently we made some really good headwinds with the template. Currently in Hiero, I'll use the JavaScript SDK for a reference because I know that they are using the standard template. So right now, when you create a new issue, there is no good first issue template. There is just a good first issue candidate template, which is very similar, but it's not the same as you would want in a detailed good first issue. Henry, you have a hand up? Yeah.
Yeah, don't want to interrupt you here. Maybe you show it first and then I ask a question. Just did the hand up to, yeah, I want to say something about it, but continue first.
Okay. Yeah, so you submit the problem, the solution, the implementation. And then this section here doesn't actually post how to the workflow to make a contribution, and this doesn't actually post, it's just reference for the user. So if you actually create a good first issue candidate, you're just going to see problem, no emojis, solution, implementation, but you won't see anything other than that, and it will be automatically labeled as a good first issue candidate. So what we have done in the Python SDK is we created a good first issue template, which has a little bit more documentation. The reason why we believe we can do that is because the good first issues have more documentation already. We believe they probably are good first issues. So we've added like the emojis, first timers only, and you can actually edit this if you want to. But we have like default help there. We have the same insert your description. We have an example that doesn't render when you post it because it's just here for the person who's submitting the good first issue. So that way they know, okay, I need to add in a solution and it needs to look like this. Like we give section for the solution, the example, the implementation, the example, and again, these don't post. We have added an acceptance criteria, and we have used the template step-by-step contribution guide, but we have made it specific to the documentation in the Python SDK. I know there's like a governance documentation. I think it's really good. There's just tiny little details that we have learned through trial and error that we need to get people over the hurdle. I mean, that's a conversation for another time. So we have that. We added the additional information. So I've converted these from the markdown thing to the text edit thing. And so when you create a good first issue, in the Python SDK, you actually get all of that rendered for you. And then all you need to do is just describe the issue, put the solution in, put the implementation, and then all of this just renders for you. You can edit them as well if you wanted, but typically there's like no need to do that, and it automatically labels it as a good first issue. I believe we don't need good first issue candidates for that reason. I mean, there still might be a role to create a good first issue candidate. But if you already have a form that has all this detail in it and you're giving people examples on what's required, I believe we could just probably put it as a good first issue and then change it later if that's a problem. The second reason why it's really important is in the rankings for a good first issue that I was talking here, this is time sensitive. So you actually want to have a really short time flow from when you create the good first issue and it's documented as a good first issue for it to rank highly. This is why old good first issues never get picked up. Hendrik, you got your hand up.
Yeah. So regarding that idea, there's one point about it I don't like. So what I totally like is to have that template, to have already, all the information around it. Like here are more additional informations. Here are some information about Hacktoberfest. This is a general idea how to do it with all the emojis and so on. That is perfect. What I dislike on it is that it directly labeled with good first issue instead of good first issue candidate. And this especially because by having that template, anybody could create such an issue. So with that template, we give out to the world the possibility to create a good first issue in Hiero. And I think that is wrong. So let's assume somebody with limited knowledge creates an issue that is just wrong, that makes absolutely no sense, and that is automatically labeled as good first issue. And I think for exactly that, this good first issue candidate makes sense because then the teams, the people can have a look at it, and if it's good, directly label it to good first issue.
Okay. Any other like feedback based on that, and then I can
Yeah,
go through all of the points. Yeah.
So something came to mind. Sorry, Andrew, just I just picked up the microphone. So why do we have this reference to like Hacktoberfest? Does that like mean things go on in October? Because like if I were a random developer and just go in and see an issue from a Hacktoberfest, which I would relate in my mind to October, maybe I would think, no, that's not currently what the guys are doing, so maybe it's something left behind, or is there some reasoning behind having Hacktoberfest written in those issues, or should we think about removing this?
So in the Python SDK, we don't have it in the rendered template, nor do we have it in the good first issue one. That's because we're always like fine tuning these templates. But in the governance, we do have it as a default. Currently, currently what we're settling on is having it hidden on the post. Like when you publish, you can't see it, but you will see it like in the information. That's something that was brought up in here, not in there. That's the wrong one. Okay, I'm lost. I've gone through so many things.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I think it can create like a sense of staleness, but okay, sorry, I was trying to collect opinions and then later I get distracted. Hang on. So yeah, let me write that down. So the first thing is Hacktoberfest. Does that make things stale? Yeah, Hendrik, you have your hand up again.
Yes, but Andrew was first.
Yeah, thanks, Hendrik. So I guess I have two things to talk about this. First of all, with Hacktoberfest and whether or not it's stale, I don't think it's considered stale. I think we should keep the Hacktoberfest information in there. It'll make it a lot easier when we come around every year for Hacktoberfest if we already have it in there and it's been curated a little bit. So I think we should keep it in there. And then number two, Hendrik, I know that you brought up the ability for anybody to create a good first issue. I would propose that we keep the good first issue in there and not try and remove that because I think that really the maintainer should be going through and verifying every single new issue in their repository that they're a maintainer on a regular basis. So if somebody writes what they think is a good first issue, that's great. And if it is actually a good first issue, it increases community involvement across the board because people feel like they can write good first issues for other folks. Um,
I
at,
I understand. So sorry. Are you done or?
I was going to say the other piece of it too is I don't think the individuals like the maintainers are going to go through only the non-good first issues. Like if I'm a maintainer on a repo, when I go through my issues, I'm going to go through all the issues since my last creation. And I totally agree. There could be some ridiculous good first issues or issues that make no sense, but I'm going to sort by date. I'm not going to sort by date and filter out good first issues.
Sure.
That's not how I would do
Yeah.
it. Maybe other people will, but I think that keeping the good first issues option in there makes it useful for if somebody wants to write an issue that is something very small, like a typo change in a README, and kind of go from there.
I agree with you that this is a positive path, and if the world would be like that, I think we're good, and that's the way to go. I think you're missing 2 points. One point is, and that is not even a negative path, that is totally fine too. We have some projects where people only work in their free time where maybe they look at new issues less than once a week, maybe every 2 weeks. And having a bad written good first issue, so that's you know open for 2 weeks can be a problem. A good first issue, I'm with you. That is great, and it should be a good first issue as soon as possible. I totally agree on that. On the other hand, having something open that is not good and in extreme maybe problematic because it's wrong at a good first issue, is like for the standing of Hiero as a project could be a risk if it's shown in different good first issues, overviews, and so on. And
Can you repeat that
yeah,
last one, Hendrik? Sorry, I didn't understand the last one after the 2-week issue.
excuse me.
What did you just say in the last minute?
Oh, you
Your
were
last
off,
point?
or what do you mean?
I didn't understand what you said.
Okay. So let's assume a project looks only every 2 weeks at the issues, like doing a backlog grooming, sort them by, like last update and look at them. So there was a period of 2 weeks where somebody created a wrong good first issue that is out there as a good first issue and maybe even highlighted in platforms on websites and so on. And on the other hand, and we tested that, we today have issues where at the beginning of October, I ping people and ask about, hey, this do not look like a really good first issue. Can we change something here? And it's not answered today in Hiero projects. And that is a problem, Andrew. So the general workflow that you describe, if everybody would work like that, all projects would have more or less full-time employees. I'm totally with you. The problem is, in reality, we have issues that nobody looked at since months.
Okay, so sorry, Rob, I see your hand up. Just super quick. If that's happening, that's an issue on the maintainer side, and that needs to be handled on the maintainer side of things, in my opinion. That should not be something that we lock the community out of because the maintainers are unable to do what is a responsibility of being a maintainer on a repo is.
I, yeah, okay. I
We,
understand that. Yeah, okay.
I've written down
Maybe
these points.
yeah,
They're
yeah.
excellent. Rob has had his hand up for a couple of minutes now.
All I wanted to say was, so I think like kind of combining what everyone's saying here. So we want to be able to tag issues as good first issues. We want to allow people to do that. But it also sounds like we want to have issues be approved by maintainers. And these don't even necessarily have to be good first issues. I mean, that's what we're talking about right now. But like maybe the issue isn't with the good first issue tag. Maybe we like need a separate like needs maintainer approval tag or something like that. Just something like we can tag an issue as like this was brought to the community, but a maintainer should look at it and make sure it's like, you know, proper or, lines up with whatever standards we want to have for issues.
I like that thinking in general, but from my point of view, it's special to good first issues because those are the issues that really are shown on specific places next to somewhere deep in our in our GitHub issues tables, right? So pages that highlight those issues where we maybe make advertisement on working on those issues. And while so let's assume somebody creates something that is totally wrong, or that is in let's say in worst case even against our code of conduct. Really say somebody creates an issue with a good first issue template that is even against our code of conduct. And on the other hand, we have a project, and let's don't take the negative one, let's take the positive one, saying we have a project where the maintainers look maybe every 2 weeks because they are working on the project not like in their main job, but only in their free time. They look every 2 weeks on those issues. I don't want that such an issue is highlighted on pages, maybe in social media, who knows in what direction we are going here, um, without somebody approved it. And this improvement, from my point of view, is a good first issue label because in theory, only the project team can decide what is a good first issue. Nobody else can. Even if for people from the outside, this looks like a good first issue, from my point of view, they cannot decide it. Maybe the maintainers did whatever somebody thinks like, oh, that's an easy fix. That could be a good first issue. Maybe the maintainers did that by purpose, whatever that purpose is, you know. And with that, I think having good first issue label by default is wrong. Where I agree with Andrew on 100% is we need to get the maintainers to do reviews of that, to be fast. And if we go that way and have a, hey, that's a possible good first issue, please have a look, maintainers, and maintainers react within 1 or 2 days and say, yeah, that's good, I just switch it to good first issue, I think then we have absolutely no problem. That would be, from my point of view, the best solution here.
I don't know how to raise my hand as
Yeah, that
speaking.
is not possible. I know that's the problem in Zoom.
Yeah, okay, so there's a lot of points here. And I'm not going to do a good job at remembering all of them. I will have to be forgiven to some extent. I've got the list in front of me, and I know we've already spent quite a lot of time on this. So how does the ranking work for the thing? So it's actually quite hard to rank for good first issue quite highly. So I would say the idea that you could create a bad reputation, I mean, it could happen, but you do need to, 6,500 stars. Or if you want to go recently updated, then you need to be probably within like an hour to get anywhere near the top. So I would argue the projects that are subject to possibly having bad reputations because of these bad first issues, they will be updated regularly. They have active maintainers to be able to actually even get on the leaderboards for these things. And in terms of the issue templates that we have for the Python SDK, we are the only ones that have the good first issue template. All the other repositories have good first issue candidates. The reason why we felt so strongly that we needed a good first issue template is because as a good first issue candidate, it doesn't work to keep us ranked near the top to actually attract developers, because it increases the time to create the issue and the template is different. So if we have active maintainers who are watching the project regularly, it's a nice way to get the developers, and it decreases the time to create a good first issue. I could easily spend half an hour creating a good first issue. These I created within 5 minutes of each other, and the quality is really good. And then as a result of this template, the pull requests that have been created, I was impressed. Like they were created within 2 hours of the issue being assigned. And before we were having like a 2 or 3 day process of back and forth and everything, but the extensive documentation, by grabbing the user as soon as they're interested and going with that momentum, we're getting so much better results. If you look at the data that I've been churning for the Hiero ledger on good first issues, I don't think we have too many good first issues to be concerned about. I mean, I don't know, have you had negative experiences within the Hiero ledger for creating good first issues? Because I was looking at the data analytics for this, and there are not that many good first issues that are being created by the community anyway. In the Python SDK, there were so many hurdles just to create a good first issue. I mean, I would love if somebody creates a good first issue, and they're still not creating good first issues. It's mostly just me. So for example, this one has 10 good first issues in the last year. Yeah, so I don't really see it as much of an issue. So there's 2 hands up. I think Rob, you were first.
Yeah, I actually forgot what I was gonna say, but I know that we at least have these. Oh, I remember what I was gonna say now. So thought that came to my mind was so I think we're trying to balance uh creating good first issues and having greater community involvement based on that, but also still keeping the power and the maintainers to I guess check and verify these good first issues are actually good first issues. Um, I was thinking maybe we could like develop some like bot that would like uh be able to go into an issue that's tagged a good first issue by the community and just like literally all it needs to do is just like leave a comment on the issue, just like tag the maintainers and just say like, hey, like review this good first issue, and then I think that's what we're trying to manage, right? It's like if we give this power to create good first issues to the community, like Hendrik said, we still want to make sure that these good first issues are actually legitimate good first issues, but we want to make sure that they get reviewed in a timely manner. And I think that if we just had a bot that all it did was just tag the maintainers when an issue gets created, I think that would help tremendously um,
Yeah,
to have those reviewed and I guess quote unquote approved.
that would be really easy to create. And also, I think there's something that the triage members would even be able to tag as well. Hendrik?
Yeah. So first of all, maybe you misunderstood that, Sophie. So about the template you created for Python, that is awesome. I want to have that in general at Hiero everywhere with one minimal change, the label. So regarding the text in it and regarding how easy and fast it is to create an issue, I'm totally with you. And I think if we have the table that template, but instead of setting good first issue as a label to the issue, but using possible good first issue candidate, however you want to call it, and you create it, and directly afterwards, since you as a maintainer have the rights to do so, switch it from good first issue candidate to good first issue, I believe you will lose nothing. You know, it's one more click for you, sure. But for as an example, how you currently work in the Python SDK, I see no problem here. And
I see one problem, but you're right.
okay,
It
yeah,
might be a lot smaller than I had envisaged. So the problem that I see is you can see good first issues from a long time ago. They just never get worked on. I have to close them and start them
yeah,
again. There's just something magic that happens when you're near the top. People always just go for the top thing. They don't go for anything else.
sure, yeah, yeah, yeah,
And you know, in the speed
yeah.
of development, I mean, 3 days ago we're all the way halfway down the page. 5 days ago we're near the end. That realistically can sometimes happen, and the reason why you need good first issues is to attract new developers.
I totally agree. And as said, if you create it, you can directly switch it, and for you it will not change anything. But so we currently thinking about doing advertisement for good first issues and things like that. And I can show you good first issues in Hiero as long as those are there. We do not publish anything because those issues should not be published, right? And that's just a problem. And those oh, I'm just looking what Andrew is posting here. So and until we have those, we have a problem. And I've seen a lot of those issues that don't make sense or are not good and where you cannot promote the project with.
Can you give examples?
I don't want to blame anybody. I can send you an example in Discord. Is that okay? And I can send it to everybody else, but I don't want to do it here on in the recorded meeting. I sent you an example, Sophie.
Okay, thanks. So yeah, I'll look at it. I mean, I suppose I'll just say that I've benefited so much from the growth of like good first issues, and it was really really hard to kind of create them. But yeah, I think I'm with you that if I create good first issues, it's pretty much the same to just change the label. Yeah.
Yeah. And if a maintainer is working full time on the project, he will look at the issues in best case every day or whatever. And even then it do not takes time. But on the other hand, it gives people who do not have that much time for the project the situation that they can react and react in their time, and it will allow us to not have any good first issues that are bad. Where I totally agree, it's not just having candidates and everything is good. No, no. We need to work as fast and as good as possible to get those candidates into good first issues. Only then it's working. But that will allow us to not run into any problems regarding bad issues, unmaintained issues, and so on and so on. Especially we have repos where the people are saying we don't want to have good first issues because we currently cannot take care of them. We cannot maintain them. That is a problem for us. Or we have projects saying next month we do not have time because it's vacation time, whatever, right? And they don't want to have good first issues then. And that's another point where the situation by auto-labeling it won't help. But now I said a lot and Andrew has hands up.
Yeah,
Yes.
remember also sorry to interrupt because I just felt that wasn't 100% correct. Like the Hiero ledger only has good first issue candidate templates. It doesn't have a good first issue template. That's just the Python SDK.
Yeah.
And
But I would like to change it. I would like to take your template from a text. The only thing I would like to have is a different label, which is good first issue candidate label. So like merge both together to have best out of both worlds.
so you're saying like make the good first issue template in the Python SDK, keep everything the same, just remove the label and put good first issue candidates.
Yes, and then merge that to Hiero and global.
Yeah.
If you
Andrew?
want to have it globally.
Yeah, so I was just going to say, I found an action on GitHub that will do this automatic assignment for us based on if we apply like the good first issues candidate label to it. It will automatically assign it out to a set of reviewers, and then, or a set of maintainers rather. And then anybody from that maintainer list can go in and make sure that it's good and apply the good first issue. So I think that kind of solves our problem of maintainers not doing it frequently enough.
So
Yeah,
I will send you, Andrew, to an issue where I even pinged maintainers and got zero reaction. So that is my problem. I totally understand where you're coming from, but the point that is from
yeah.
your
Let
thinking
me just
not perfect is people not reacting.
so we have two very different ways of valuing the good first issue. So Andrew here is saying, well, it's important to me for the community to feel that they can contribute to the good first issue process. And Andrew, I think you believe the good first issue label is important to that for them to be able to assign that. And then Hendrik on the other side is saying, okay, I think the good first issue label should only be something that maintainers can assign, and I believe it's enough if a community member is able to create a good first issue candidate. Am I correct in the interpretation there? So we have like a difference in the opinion with where is the line that we want to draw for reasonable community involvement. So Hendrik, for example, you say that sometimes a good first issue could be written in a really bad way. You said that it could even harm the reputation of the project. Are these kind of things escalated so much that it's like the case that the developer could even be banned from being in a repository, and that's why we need to safeguard the good first issue label?
Oh, I would say it's more about, let's assume we highlight good first issues. So maybe let's just assume we have an automatism that uses like places where developers are, maybe parts of social networks or whatever, I don't care, and make advertisement for, hey, here's a good first issue, do your first contribution to Linux Foundation or whatever, just as an example, marketing. And that one takes good first issues from Hiero that are labeled with that. Because a person at marketing has no idea what to select, right? There must be a kind of thing that marks this should be used for it. Another thing is we're currently working on a web page showing all good first issue of everything at Hiero in a very nice representation. So, which is like an introduction page for newcomers for the community. Things like that will only work where you highlight them automatically and not do cherry picking. If the quality what is behind that label is, I would say, high and consistent. And I'm not saying people create, like bad good first issues with, like that even are against our code of conduct like crazy. What I'm saying is if we activate it for everybody, or not only for all the SDKs, let's say like we activate it for all the SDKs, there will be maintainers, there will be projects that do not care enough on it, so that the quality of those pages, of those things, in some parts will go down, what can end in somebody clicking on it saying, yeah, I want to do that, ending in an issue with a bad description, trying to solve it, cannot solve it, ask people at the issue, do not get any feedback, and then goes away and tells their friends, oh, don't even try it, it's not working, it's horrible. That is exactly what I try to not end at. That's why I'm saying better have less good first issues, but let them have a very high quality.
Yeah, I mean, right now, I think I even created some good first issues that had really good problem solution implementation, and it hasn't been converted to a good first issue. So that also blocks the community from being able to create a good first issue that's relevant at the time. Maybe, in a week, in 2 weeks, maybe somebody else has already completed it in another thing, and then they feel demotivated because of that as well. I mean, I don't know, I feel like energy is important with an SDK. If you like, many people are saying, oh yeah, I joined because there's like a community vibe,
Yeah,
there's
sure.
a lot going on. Yeah, I don't know, I feel like this is probably quite like a big thing to talk about, and maybe Hendrik, you'd be able to present some of the website good first issue improvements that you will.
It's currently broken, but you could just go on. Let me.
Yeah, I'm just aware of the
So
time.
I can share the link directly here. Everybody can open the current broken state because we currently don't continue on it based on the programs I'm just described, right? But that is, like work in progress. When you scroll down, you see like the good first issues. You can have a look at all contributors of Hiero and so on. And there are even more ideas about what to do. But without good data, that will be hard to do. And that is why I'm currently blocked, like moving all that forward when the data is not good.
Yeah, I think I would side with Andrew. That's more of like a maintainer issue than a good first issue. Because sometimes a bad good first issue is something that's a good first issue, but it's been stale for a month. Even a month is sometimes enough to just make it not relevant anymore.
Yes, sure. I agree on that, but that is even for the same for normal issues, right? So it's not only good. That is first of all because the Python SDK is moving that fast at the moment, and secondly, it's the same for any issue in general. So this is nothing that is related to a good first issue.
So one of the things that I'll say is I don't know how many maintainers are actually aware that they're even supposed to be triaging these issues in the first place. Have we provided any training to engineers and to maintainers of how to look at these good first issues and understand that this is a priority in the open source community?
So we tried to present it at several meetings, like the maintainer meeting and other community meetings. So not all maintainers have been in those meetings. Next to that, we shared it through public and private channels. What not happened is like, hey, this is a mandatory whatever training that people need to do to understand how to do backlog grooming for the issues.
Okay, so to me, that sounds like we talked about it in Discord, and we have a lot of maintainers who are not on Discord. And that's a whole other issue that we can talk about some other time.
I know.
But if we need to engage those maintainers, um, number one, we need to make sure that we set the expectation that they're available and that they're able to get information from, the higher level Hiero Ledger organization maintainers flow down to these individual repo maintainers and understand the expectation that if you are a maintainer, these are some of the things you're going to do. So, in my opinion, that's number one, and just make them aware that that's even a thing. And then number two, we need to provide them clear training and expectations on if you're a maintainer of a specific repo, you are expected to go through and triage these good first issue candidates and new issues that are coming in. This is no longer a Hashgraph specific repository. These are all open source repositories. So just like you would do sprint planning internally for Hashgraph, you're going to be doing a much wider set of triage in the open source community. And it's really, really important that we engage the open source community. So I think that that's an opportunity for us to make sure that everybody understands, all of the maintainers understand that it is critical and it is a high priority issue that we go through and make sure that we have good, clean, good first issues available to the community. And I think that fundamentally that's where the issue is. Not so much with, should we have access, should an individual have access to good first issue or not? Ultimately, if this backlog is being triaged once a week, it doesn't matter whether or not the community has access to good first issue because in a week, those issues are going to get cleaned up anyways. We can always remove the good first issue tag while the maintainer goes back to the submitter and they kind of negotiate and develop that into a fully fleshed out good first issue. And Sophie, I understand what you said too about like engineers or community members always wanted to take that top issue, right? That first one that shows up. That's the one that they're going to want to take the most. But I think that, that's a risk we need to take in order to engage the community more, because that's really what we're trying to do.
I disagree on 2 points. I agree on a lot, but I disagree on 2 points, and those 2 points are, I would say a week is a lot. If you highlight issues, then a week is a lot. And if we want to make advertisement and in a worst case, maybe even give something for people working on good first issues, that maybe we found a way to, give out anything, whatever anything is, for people working on good first issues. And if everybody can create a good first issue, that's a problem. If a good first issue stays for 1 week as a good first issue, even if it is not, is a problem. And the other point I disagree on, we cannot say to our community, you need to do every week a backlog grooming, because we have, oh yeah, you're right, Sophie, sorry for not raising my hand. Let me just end that sentence and then I'm done. Because we have projects with people doing that only in their free time. Ah, you wanted to raise hand. Ah, got it. Okay.
Yeah, so the reason why I took the risk for the Python SDK in creating a good first issue label is because we added so many examples. And this is in capitals. This in capital, describe the issue in a way that's understandable in contributors. You must not assume that they have any knowledge. Add links, add relevant documentation, look at the example. So I could always put good first issue candidate, but I wonder if some of the low quality good first issues were good first issue candidates in the beginning because people didn't really understand what was required. But now looking at this form, you're like, okay, I need to really, really explain it. I need to add links. I need to add code sections. And then here is like, this is what we expect. If you're going to create this is the kind of thing that we expect. In the solution, again, in capitals, you must do this, you must do this. Here's an example. Again, here's the example for the implementation with the code section and things. So at the end of this, I think, it's much easier to create a good first issue because you have all these things pre-filled for you. But at the same time, I think many people will look at this form and will realize, okay, I don't want to create a good first issue. I can't be bothered to put in all the documentation. So, I mean, yeah. Andrew, you've got your hand up.
Yes, I did. That was the other part that I completely forgot to bring up, was that this template is so thorough and so detailed that it's going to filter out a lot of the low effort issues that get submitted. And I think that, Sophie, first of all, thank you for putting together such a detailed template. But also, I don't think we're going to have issues of low quality come through. I understand that we've seen them in the past. I get that. But I think for the Hiero SDK Python, we take a swing with it and see what happens. And if it blows up, okay, great. It was horrible. It was a bad decision. Fine. I understand that. But I think that trying to lock everybody out of this right in the front is a good way to lock out the community and not necessarily drive community engagement like we're looking for.
Yeah, I think that's important because good first issues should be accessible. They should feel accessible. They shouldn't just like technically be you feel ready for it, but you need to feel, oh, I can do this. I can be part of this. I agree.
Totally agree, but I don't see how the creation comes into play. And what I don't understand, Andrew, on the one hand, you say you don't want us, with us, or now say the org maintainers, to remove any good first issue label on any issue in any Hiero project. But on the other hand, you want to allow everybody to add that label, even people outside of the org. That for me, don't, I don't mean it in a bad way. I'm just saying for me this don't fit together.
I don't think that's the case. I mean, some people have created odd issues here and there, and I do edit them.
What do you mean with that?
So I won't really change what they've written, but I will tend to say, okay, here's an example. Here is where the file is located. So as a maintainer, I feel responsible for if somebody creates an issue, and it's a valid issue, that's great. But if they've not done the documentation exactly enough so that it tracks people into it, I will help the documentations. Quite often I'll
Sure.
just comment afterwards, maybe even edit the issue directly. As a maintainer, I have that ability. So I put a guard in the Python SDK. I won't tend to. I mean, from time to time, yeah, I won't have time all the time, but if something's so bad, I will definitely do something about it.
Yeah, totally agree, and that is great. I'm absolutely don't get me wrong, not talked about that, right? So, as a maintainer of the Python SDK, adding information, examples, whatever to issue somebody created in the Python SDK is awesome. From my point of view, even for other SDKs, awesome if you do it. You don't need to be a maintainer. If you add information, that is totally out of scope. I hope we do not discuss at all about that. I think it's really just about this labeling of saying this is a good first issue or this is a priority one. So we do not discuss if we want to create an issue template for creating an issue with a high priority. At the end, it's the same. It's an informational label that defines this issue as, hey, this is exactly that. And from my point of view, that is only something maintainers can do. Independent if it's a priority, if it's a good first issue, if it's I don't know, a bug or a feature maybe even. That's what the maintainers know, not me from the outside. Maybe what I assume as a bug is a feature.
Hendrik, oh, sorry, hand. Okay, Hendrik, I think Rob has a really good point in chat, and that is that the maintainers need to be more involved and they need to
Yeah,
groom their backlogs. Do we agree on that so far?
at 100%. And I like
Great.
the action Rob point down there. Totally agree.
Okay, so then the next piece I have is there a maintainer's responsibility document somewhere?
Not as far as I think.
Okay,
So what we
so
have, I mean,
I understand we probably
yeah.
have it scattered in a bunch of different places. I'm I'm trying to get very, very simple answers so that we can figure out a clear path forward, right? And I understand there may be responsibility scattered in 5 different documents. That's fine. But do we have a document that says if you're a maintainer on a repository, these are your expectations?
So I like the idea. One thing, and I think that is nothing we here in the SDK meeting can define, right? So one thing we need to discuss is, do we want to have that? Do we want to tell our maintainers this and this and this is what you need to do? And then where is, how far will we go? So I like the idea in general to agree on that. Um, and on the other hand, it's a big decision to do something like that because we must always think about we have a very diverse community here with people working full time on it, people only maybe be able to spend 2 hours a week. But if those 2 hours are very good, why should that person not be a maintainer? So um, it will be challenging to create something like that that works for everybody. That's what I'm saying. I like the idea. We just need to move it out of maybe we start with creating something in the SDK hub as a beginning and say like, hey, for our SDKs, we have those wishes for developers. Yeah, Andrew.
Yeah, so Sophie had a good point that it's actually triage and also committers and maintainers who can all modify labels on issues. So it'll be something wider than this. Um, so I think there's a lot more to talk about here. I think we need to talk about this at our maintainers call as well,
Yeah.
because this is something that we're clearly not going to solve here right now. And we are pretty much out of time. One final piece that I wanted to bring up, Hendrik, you mentioned that if somebody's a really good developer, but they're here and they can only commit 2 hours a week to this repository. I don't know if they should be a maintainer on this repository if they're only committing to, 2 hours a week. Um,
Why
I
not?
really agree with you that it's really difficult when something's moving quick.
yeah.
Yes,
So
Especially
but does everything need to move quick? I mean, nothing in our guidelines is against that. First of all, if you have a project like the Python SDK that is moving super fast and you have three maintainers maybe, and two can get rid of it and one cannot, maybe you can discuss should that person still be a maintainer or should that be downgraded to, or like change roles, shouldn't feel like a downgrade, to be a committer. But if you have like a repository that defines a specification, and for that specification it's like documentation that is created time after time after time, and once a week you come to that and continue with the specification. I do not see why that person should not be a maintainer. So I think it's really dependent on the repo or on the project, and I don't think we can make such rules. My personal point here, but happy and open to discuss all that, especially in the maintainer meeting, because I think that is the place where we should do that.
okay.
Yeah, maybe
Well,
do we want to so I know the first good first issue call is tomorrow as well. So maybe we can continue this conversation there, or we can take it to the Hiero community call on Thursday as well.
So
I don't know who runs that meeting, but
the call tomorrow is for SDKs, right? And the goal
yeah.
is to create and review good first issues for SDKs. And I think that we can do without any problem. And we should do that in the call tomorrow because that is without question.
I mean, I definitely have triage members that are available like 10 hours a week. By opening up to the community, there's a lot of people that are very dedicated. I mean, there's still a role for maintainers with high amounts of specialized knowledge, but I don't think we need to set the bar there anymore. The community had so much to offer.
Yeah,
and I don't
agree.
think we
I
should be
mean,
doing this at tomorrow's for good first issues call. That's for actual like backlog refinement of those issues.
yeah,
Instead, we should talk about this at our either community or maintainers call.
yeah. I totally agree with you, Andrew, on that. Yeah.
All right.
It
Everyone,
shouldn't
So,
be even part of this meeting.
yeah.
yeah, I mean, we can take it to the community call, and then if we can continue conversation next Monday too, if there's still things to talk about. Who is Jessica run the meeting on Thursday? I usually don't go, but just figuring out who we can talk to get it on the agenda.
I do not do it. That is done by Jessica so far.
Okay.
So she should be the right person here.
Okay. Yeah, I can reach out. Um, yeah, see if we can discuss this on Thursday.
Great, look forward to that.
Great. Yeah, this was a good discussion. Thanks everyone for joining. Have a good day.
Bye.